Struck him 26 times in his last 50 at-bats. Six times. 40 runs for him, but he said it does help. It's a nice place to be. Yeah, if you're enjoying the way you're playing baseball. Gallo can't catch up to that heat.
Hi, Harold.
Irony.
Sadiq Aleph. We're talking about when you speak, is speech considered a maisa in order to suffer malchus as a punishment? So the Gemara gives an example. Lo shadam rishon lahamir. When you make a tmura, you point to one animal that's a korban, and you say, I want that animal to be a tmura, like a replacement of that animal. So you're not allowed to do it. Hello, Abe. Abe, we're on Sadiq Aleph 91.
Perfect.
Lo sha'adam rishai lahamir. A person is not allowed to make a tmura. If you have a shlomim animal standing in front of you, and then there's another animal, and you point at the other animal and you say, I want that animal to be a tmura of this animal, so you're not allowed to do it. But elashim haim, if you did mummer, the kedusha of the shlomim transfers. However, soifik is arboim. You get malchus. And this action was just speech. We've been dealing with the issue, is speech considered a maisa in order to be able to get malchus? Here it seems that speech alone will give you malchus. Amarlei Hamani Rabbi Yehudi. This is a das yochid, Rabbi Yehuda. The Amar lav shein bo maisa loikin. That even a lav that has no active action, such as dibur, you get malchus. So the Gemara says, "You can umi matzis malchus like Rabbi Yehuda." How can you set up the case like Rabbi Yehuda? Vaktani reisha kol memirin echad anoshim ve'echad anoshim. Everyone can make it tmura, men and women, and therefore havinim. But we analyzed hakol when it says everyone lasuyimai. You already have men and women. So lasuri yoresh, to include an heir of a korban. Udalok Rabbi Yehuda, and that's not like Rabbi Yehuda. The Rabbi Yehuda Homer Yorish Eno Meimir. Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion that if a person designated an animal to be a korban and then he died, and the Yorish inherits that korban, he cannot make a tmura. And Yorish Eno Somech. The Yorish cannot do smicha on the animal when you go to the base of Mikdash. So the Gemara says, yeah, he holds like Rabbi Yehuda regarding that lav shein b'maisa you can get malchus, but not according to this other opinion that a noshim and Yorish. Torah Rabba. Hachoisim es apora v'dashpa. Person rented a cow and then he muzzled it to thresh. Not allowed to do that. Loiken. Umeshalem arba kabin lapara. You pay 4 calves of the grain to the owner of the para because he had by all rights permission to eat that amount while he was threshing. Ushlosha kabin lachamer, 3 calves for a chamor. Now, the ain't a look of a maze. We have a principle that a person who has committed an avera that gets malchus and the death penalty, you just get the death penalty. And ain't a loka mishalim. If you have an avera where you have to pay money and get malchus, if you get malchus, you don't have to pay. So why is he paying here? He's getting malchus. Amar by Hamani Rab Meir. Amar loiko mishalim. Rab Meir says you can get loiko mishalim. Rava Amar, a different teretz. Esnan asra tarfilu ba'alimo. If you give for payment of sexual services to a harlot, an animal, so that's called an etnan zona. You're not allowed to bring that animal for a korban. And you get malchus. Excuse me. Here, even if a person had relations with his mother and gave an animal as payment, it has a din of an esnan. Now, he's going to be put to death because you're not allowed to have relations with your mother on the pain of death. And he doesn't have to pay the base din because he's chayv misa. So, Rav Papa Omar, Mishas Mashicha chayv l'neseh. Once he pulled the cow to him when he leased it, he's already chayv to feed the animal. Milk l'olaki at shas chasima. So the averis didn't occur at the same time. The following were asked, and halacha was given le'isra, but chada ki hilchasa v'chada d'lav kilchasa. One, we paskin like, one we don't paskin like. Boiminei. Ma'u lo sha'isha b'cholav. Are you allowed to make a milchtik dough? Can you put milk into flour and water when you're making a dough? It's appropriate because we're coming to Shavuos. Pashtul al-Yisur kilchasa. You're not allowed to do it. The Tanya ain't loshen se'iz b'cholav. Because you might come to eat it with milk, with meat. The imlash kol paskul asur. You do it, the whole bread is asur. Mibnei hergalaver. You're so used to eating bread that you'll come to eat it with meat. Similarly, kayotzubo in tashnis atanar ba'alya. You don't anoint the inside of an oven with the fat of a tail because it'll make everything inside fleshik. Vimtach kol paskul asura. When you bake bread inside, it'll become asur achiyasik satar until you light up the tanner with such a high heat that it'll melt what you put on the walls. The idich boimina. We asked other questions. You're not allowed to put together 2 animals of different species. It's kloim. Now, what about if you just let a male and a female of 2 different species into a corral? Pashti luli surah. They said it's osir, but the lav kilchus, but it's not the halacha. Damer Shmuel. Uvim ofim with human beings who are committing adultery, you don't have to physically see the male member inserted. You just see the activity, sexual activity going on. You know what it looks like. For Adin, that's enough. But in order to be convicted of putting kloin together, you actually have to see the male member inserted. So, Mosif Rav Achadvoy Barami, Ilunem Arbem Tchalo Tarbiyah, don't make kloim. The man shouldn't hold the the member of the animal and put it in. Talmud Lomer kloim. Lav michlad the kloim achiza namilo. And it means that you don't have to actually physically hold it. Maya achiza achnosa. It is physically putting it in. But Micah koile achiza lishnamai didn't want. It wanted to use a cleaner language. If you're mating two animals of the same species, you're allowed to even help them by inserting the male member. And it's going to lead to hirhor and pritzus. No, afilu pritzus like there's no isser pritzus. My time above it. He's a cattle person. He's concentrating on his work. Masif Rav Achaboy Barami. Ilunem Nemar Be'avchalo Tarbiyah. Don't make kloim. Don't hold the animal so the animal can, the female, so the male can mount it. Kloim uda aser. That's interspecies. Hamin b'mino. But a cow with a cow, a horse with a horse, shari. Umin b'mino nami achiza in berachnosalo. But that might be, you could just hold on to the animal itself, not to the member. But it says, no, my achiza achnosa. It means you can even help it insert. Ve'amaika korle achiza lishnamal, you wanted to use a cleaner language. The following was asked. You want to put 3 animals into the corral. A male horse, a female horse, and a cow. So kivin de ikimine, since there's 2 horses there, so they'll get busy with each other. O dilma, afilo hachilo. No, maybe you wouldn't be allowed to do it. And if you allow them to do it, they'll mate interspecies as well, because it happened by itself, and so therefore we have exer not to do it. Mishnah. The worker was working with his hands but not his feet. With his feet but not his hands. Let's say he was only using his shoulders. All of these workers are allowed to eat as they work. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, he has to be yadav v'raglav. No, he has to be able to use his hands and his feet. My time, ki savo b'kermayacha b'chol my da'avid. Any kind of work that you do doesn't give us a detail. But Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, he has to be yadav v'raglav. My time, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda. Why? He's shore. A shore, mashor, she has to be yadav v'raglav. A shore uses his front legs and back legs. Avpoilat, she has to be out of regular. We compare it to the worker. Boy Rav Baruna. Dash bavozim etanagoyim. You're using geese and chickens to thresh. The Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda Mao. B'chol kolcho ba'inin va'ikab. Listen, this is the full strength of these birds, and that's all you need. Odilma b'yadav raglav ba'inin va'alekan. Geese and chickens are not using their hands and feet. Teku. We have no answer. A worker has to walk sort of widthwise and lengthwise at least once in a vineyard. Up until they do that, they can eat the grapes, but they can't drink the wine. Once they've taken a spazier through the vineyard completely, once width and once length, then then they can eat the grapes and drink the wine. Mishnah. If the worker is working with figs, he cannot eat grapes. If he's working if he's working banavim with grapes, he can wait until he gets to the part of the field that he likes and not eat anywhere else until he gets there. But got to be working. They made set rules to make sure that the owners were not getting cheated by workers spending too much time. So from row to row in the keren, in the vineyard or the field, they come to the end of the row, that's when they can eat. When they come back from the wine press, or when they're unpacking the donkey. Can he eat from a different part of the vineyard if he only worked in one part? Or well, all we need is the same species that are being put into the vessel of the owner, and it has to be in the specific area. Maybe you'll answer that if he works in this part, he can't eat from the other part. Sure, how does an ox eat from other areas in the field that are still connected to the ground? Very long leaves. So he did the malach on one area where the leaf was, and he ate from the other part. Toshma. He's working with figs. He shouldn't eat the grapes. But eating from figs and figs that are like grapes, not exactly, you can eat. Will you explain? On Rav Shisha B'Rav Yidi, moidless. It's like hanging down low. So he probably eating from this side of it, he ends up eating from the working one side of it, and he's ending eating from the other side. Toshma. A worker can delay eating until he gets to an area that he likes. Let him eat in the other place without any problem. We don't want him wandering around the field. He's going to waste time in his work. This question was not raised for us. We know that you can't be mevatel from Milacha. Many workers came with their wives and children, and they don't work, and they can eat. Can they go and pick from other fruits that he hasn't worked there? My Toshma. We said in general the workers can work anytime they're working. We didn't want the Balim to lose too much money. They created special times when he can eat. At the end of every row, he would eat. When he came back from the press. Now, Savrua, the ones learning in the yeshiva, understood from this. Walking around the field is like doing a maisa. Walking is certainly part of his job. And he certainly could have eaten at that time Yet Mishum Hashev Aveda Labalim Hu Achil. The takana to eat the way the Mishnah set it up is only a takana Rabbanan. Midaraisa Lo Yachil. It implies from Torah law you wouldn't have been able to eat. Why shouldn't he eat? Must be Alma. It's because Oisa Begefen Zeh, Eino Eichel Begefen Acher. It's considered that he worked in this area and he can't eat in the other area. And therefore, when he's walking and he's not in the original area, he cannot eat Midin Torah. Is that the understanding? Or says lo? You're wrong. A worker who eats from one area can eat in another area. But Mahalik Lab Koisamaisadoni. Walking between areas is not considered like he's doing part of his work. Therefore, Minatori, he doesn't eat at that time. Chachamim said that he should eat there, so otherwise the Bailim won't lose money because he's walking anyways. So he eats while he's walking, he saves time. Now, Ikidi Amri, other people learn this a little differently. Savrua Mahalik Lav Koisa Maisa. When you're picking fruit, that's Maisa. But when you're walking from row to row, that's not a Maisa. Behind the time of the Miraisa Loach. And the reason why Midaraisa you don't eat at that time is Mishum Lav Koisa Maisa. Walking from place to place in the field is not considered like you're doing Maisa. Implying that ha'oisa maisa, when you are working achol midaraisa, you're eating from Torah law. Alma sha'oisa begefen ze ochel begefen acher. Well, what's the difference whether you're working in this part of the vineyard and that part of the vineyard? You're working, and the Torah allows you to eat. So Gemara says no, lo, loilam oimecha oisa begefen ze eno ochel begefen acher. U'ma'alach koisa maisa dami. Walking is considered like doing maisa. So Mikra didn't even be allowed to eat. Chachamim restricted it so that the employees wouldn't lose too much money. Okay. We're going to learn tomorrow night after Shabbos. I'm going to Valley today for Shabbos. Shabbos is over when? 8:10? What time is Shabbos over?
Shabbos, I don't know.
Or later?
Let me see
I think
here.
it's over later.
Let me look at the calendar.
Let's do it at 9:30.
9:30 works, that for
Yeah,
sure.
let's do it 9:30. That way we've
Yeah,
made
you'll be
and everything is okay.
Okay, great. 9:30.
All
Very
right.
good. Have a
Everybody.
good
Shabbos, everybody. Shabbos.